Hello everyone, Amy here. This is my novel update for my Nanowrimo novel that I wrote. So here's my update for it in case you were wondering what was going on. If you refer back to this post, that was my big 8-month calendar to try to get this novel whipped up into shape and ready for curing. So what I did December 1st through December 8th, edit my novel on Word. Now this wasn't a big edit, this was just correcting all the red squiggly lines and the green squiggly lines and the blacking out that I did. I did lots of blacking out. And also anything where my characters kind of became conscious and said, this is a horrible scene. Which I'm sure there might be several of those in your novel. So I just edited that. I tried doing it in Scrivener, but Scrivener was just really annoying with it. One of the number one tips I know of is if you find a mistake, just replace all. So I noticed that I kept on mistyping my main character's name, which is horrible, but I did. I mistyped it, I didn't bother correcting it. So instead of correcting all of them, I just hit replace and corrected, 30 of them at once. Also in that time, I wrote a 5-star review of my novel. I think this is awesome. It was a tip from Outlining Your Novel by K.M. Weidland. That was just one of the tips inside her outlining thing. I thought it was good. I did write a review before Nanowrimo, but I think writing one now will also be good. I'll do a whole video about the review of the novel later on. What I'm going to do right now is I printed it all out, and this is the story, and from December 8th through the 15th I'm going to be reading this. So I'm kind of telling you what I'm planning on doing with this. I got it done on Office Max because they're fairly cheap. I think this was done for about $17. There's also a coupon code that they just gave me for $5 off, so I would happily accept that. I got it spiral bound and has a clear kind of hard page on the front and the back just to make it a bit easier. When I did print this novel out, I did print it in a different font than I did on the computer screen. I used to, when I would print this at home, I would also print it in a different color, so I would print it in green or red, just to spice things up. Something else I did was I made sure I had margin space, so I didn't fill it up all the way, and I left about 2.5 to 3 inches of space just to write notes on. This isn't double spaced, and that's because I know every single word here I'm going to rewrite. This is my first draft, and it's a Nanowrimo draft, so it's horrible and horrendous, and everything's going to be written, so I didn't see the need to rewrite everything by double spacing it and bothering with the tiny minute details. That's something that's going to be done at my last draft, or at least my second draft, is where I double space and look for mistakes and then worry about, finding the right word. Right now I'm just trying to make it at least a little bit readable to give to somebody else. I let my novel sit. I've grown detached from it a little bit. I do remember what happened, but I'm going at it the first time I read it, I'm a reader. And I'm not going to make a single mark on this. The second time I read it, I'm the writer fixing it. At the end of all the chapters, I put this page, which was what was good about the chapter, what needed work, and how am I going to make these changes. I think it's important to put the how there, that way you actually know what you're doing. Like you would say, the dialogue is horrible, it needs to be fixed. Well, this is where you take the time to think, well, how can I actually fix the dialogue? So that's something I put on at the end of every single chapter. I feel like every time you edit a novel, you read a new editing book, and I'm kind of just collaborating and with all the various ones I read and kind of making my own "this is how you edit" list. So this is mine, one for this book. This was second sight for revision publication. Now this is for children and young adults, and my book is for adults, but there are still a lot of good tips in here that I figured, I could use. It was recommended to me at a writer's conference, so if other writers think it's good, then I'm going to go with it too. I also found this in the Cheryl's book. There's a link to it on her blog, which I will link below. And this is the plot checklist, so I thought this was good to add, and I just printed it out, and I added lines. Her version didn't have lines to it, which I didn't think, so I printed it out and added the lines here to help me make sure my plot was good. That's something I'm filling out later. And this is something that I think is very important. This is the ranking of the worst chapters. So this will be the ranking from the worst to the best. I have 40 chapters in all, and I'm going to rank it because, Your first chapter might not be your worst chapter. It might be chapter 17 or 19 or 32. And you want to start making the worst one the best and work your way down. First chapter, I always spend so much time on editing, and I just want to make it perfect. And I think sometimes I don't spend as much time on the other chapters. This was a suggestion by Belle. And I think it's really the best way to work through your novel. You're not just rereading the same 3 chapters over and over again, you know, and then going back and edit it all over. This is just really focusing on getting the worst ones in the best shape as quickly as possible. I also put in a mini character chart. Now this isn't a big one. This is just this very small one, again suggested by Cheryl. I think the important thing she put here with her suggestion is why. So I have the values, the loves, the fears, the wants, the needs, and why those are. And also the most important thing in this character's life, and this character oh, and this is the change that the character goes through throughout the novel. I did this for all of my characters, including as side characters, which I admit I did not flesh out very well. That is how I prepared this manuscript for the next, was it 2 weeks? From the 8th to the 15th, that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on reading it and marking them all up. Which should be fun. You know, I wrote this novel. This is the novel that I wanted to read and I couldn't find, so I just wrote it. How's your NaNoWriMo doing? Are you doing anything? Your NaNoWriMo's over. How's your NaNoWriMo novel? Are you still keeping it locked away in a drawer and you're not reading it yet? Or you're thinking about the whole editing process again? Tell me below what's going on with your story, or if you have any good editing tips, I would love to hear them. Until next time, bye bye.